Hello, 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 hello. What is up, everyone? How did everyone's reading go? How did everyone finish the book? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I'm doing well. And Miss Stella here has been asking for attention all morning. Haven't you, Miss Stella? So how's everyone doing? How did your reading go? What did you think of the book? I love the book so much. It was inspiring. I want to watch the movie now. The book left me with some question marks in my head, I guess. Okay, interesting. We'll talk about those. Book was great. The end surprised me. I love the book. I tried to read it once before I could get into it. Before I couldn't get into it, I'm glad I gave it another chance. Yes! Stella is so cute. Yes, she is. What type of kitty is Stella? Stella is a Maine Coon. This book was just wow. Good. I'm glad you liked it. Mwah. Okay, go. I don't know which version is true. You didn't finish the book yet? Oh my God! The book was slow for me all the way till the end, then my mind got blown. Yes. I haven't had a chance to finish the book, but I've watched the movie! Okay, I've watched like an hour of the movie. I've watched half of it. Where's my Star Wars pencil? I didn't need it today. Because actually, between you and me, I literally read the rest of this book, like the last 100 pages in one sitting. I finished it on Monday. Fascinating. I want to see the movie. We need to talk so much about emotions. Yes! Same like 2 hours ago. Dope, dope. I don't know which version is true. I'm so confused. Okay. The writing is so lovely but impactful and powerful. All right. It was also very creepy at some point. I assume you're either talking about the island or the creepy blind man. Creepy blind man, totally agree. Watch the movie after finishing. I have like a piece of hair in my mouth. Last 2 chapters, mind blown. Like I said, I was listening to his story and I didn't take notes at all. Exactly. The book left me with more questions than Handmaid's Tale. What the huck and puller? Why? The film didn't feel appealing until I read the book. Suddenly, there's a man out of nowhere. I've just discovered that Paradise by Cold is from the movie. Oh, wow. You know, Camille, you say since the beginning his dad was like, you must be reasonable with everything, when Pi was more about the spirituality. I guess it's whether you believe in the good people or the bad. I know you have a second part, but I think that's one main distinction that they make in the movie versus the book. I don't know, are we discussing the movie today? Creepy blind man was definitely a character. Island is pretty freaky. It's like the fight between the cruelty of mankind of the possibility of something greater and better. All right, so we'll talk about the movie. I think that's one distinction they make in the movie versus the book. In the book, they make it seem like Pi is wiser beyond his years. He isn't as naive and isn't going to try to feed a tiger. His father just wanted to make sure this lesson was there so he never would catch Pi, right? And in the book, he catches Pi trying to feed the tiger. So, I mean, in the movie they try to show this innocence that I think is lost. And like he says, even the color in the film isn't as saturated or vibrant when we see it after that point in the movie. Yes, okay, Cat Parker. See, this is the discussion I was having with someone. Everyone here who has seen the movie, we're not going to talk about it because some people haven't seen it yet. Well, we'll talk about it, but we'll just give spoiler alerts so that they kind of stick their ears. For everyone that had seen it after they finished reading the book, do you think it was more beneficial to watch this movie after reading the book? What do we think about that? What story do I believe? Doesn't matter. We'll talk about that too. Watched the movie last night. In the movie, there was this fish attack. Well, the fish attack in the movie they talk about in the book, it's when the flying fish start hitting him, and he talks about how Richard Parker has that beautiful yogi moment where he's like perfectly in the moment looking for fish to like swat. I totally agree. In the book, the distinction was not as important as in the movie. I was wondering if the entire story was a way for Pi to cope with what has happened to the ship. You know, that's very possible. He did some things and was put in positions that most people will never be in. So yeah, maybe. Definitely more beneficial to read the book and then watch the movie. Cool. Do you think that the man eaten by Richard Parker was real? Yes. First read, then watch. Okay. I don't know, to be honest. I guess I was expecting a different ending considering what I just read in the book. I haven't watched the movie yet, but I'm hoping it will clear up some things that I missed because I read too fast because I was so into the book. Did Richard Parker jump off the boat in a book? He does jump off the boat once in the book and then is like, oh crap, I don't want to be in the water anymore. And then he tries to get back on and it's a whole thing. I think it's kind of hard to understand if you can't imagine all in your mind. The movie really helps in it. Yes, Angelic Lewis, that's exactly what I liked about the movie. Was I read this book and I got, I think, a lot of like the spiritual understanding of Pi. I got this amazing story, and then the movie kind of put a bunch of beautiful images in there. Like, for me, the phosphorescent highway he talks about. The phosphorescent highway is something in the book that I'm like, that must look beautiful. I've seen phosphorescence in real life, so I'm like, that must be crazy. But I can't think about it to the extent of being in the open water and seeing. So in the movie, they have that whole scene where that happens, and then the whale comes out of the phosphorescence and crashes it. And I never read the book before seeing the movie, but now I wish I'd read it before seeing the movie. Can we talk about how Pi talks to Richard Parker, I love you? Oh, the fiction may have helped him, like the story he told himself to survive, especially with the most gruesome details. This book gives all the info and the movie explains it, so yes, read the book first and then watch the movie. I would agree with that. The movie helps a lot for the visual parts. That's what I've been saying. I'm like, I think the visual that the movie gives you is amazing because then it really makes this book more colorful. The movie's a great way to visualize the text. I have a bit of doubt for movies, like if I like a book, if it's a bit hard for me to accept a movie, especially when the story has its kind of own personal color. I think because they're two different mediums, for me, I can always separate the book from the movie. I can always be like, oh, the book was fantastic, the movie was great for other reasons, or I can always find that separation because I have a depth of knowledge of the story. And then I can like analytically be like, why would they change that part? Like in the book, a lot of the story is Pi telling our author, Jan Martel, this story, right? Which we see in flashbacks in the movie. But the way he's telling the story is different because I doubt they just sat and Pi told the story. You know, I like how they're doing things and they're walking around wherever he lives in Canada. I can't remember in the movie. And they like start walking around it. And then they're talking and having small little conversations. And it helps make sense of these side conversations that he's having. I think that was cool. But I can always see where the book was. And I think that's always really important, is to be like, oh, I can accept this. The only time I don't accept it is if they completely miss the mark. Like if the movie's just really bad because they didn't get the book. And I hate when that happens. The boat sounds bigger in the book to me. I agree. Having read the boat now, I'm like, wow, the boat. I watched it last night. I was like, the boat did feel bigger. Oh gosh, sorry guys, I fell really far behind, so I scrolled down to the bottom. I always go into the movie remembering not everything that can be made into it, and all can be created to do the book justice. Yes. No, Stella's not hungry. Because I let her outside now, she likes to sit by the front door and, like, meow like a dog. Dogs, you know, she likes to, like, let me out. Hey! Give me a second, guys. No, I don't want you running around, man. No. You're stuck with me. What later? This cat. All right, so the story without animals. All right, so let's talk about that because I'm seeing that is a question everyone's asking. Which story is true? I think both stories were true. I think it's how you want to see it, or whichever story you wish to see is the story that will be for you. I think that's the point he was trying to make. He's like, you could see the story for what it was, which is really sad, kind of dark version. Or you could see the story for what it is, which is this story of growth and survival. They both express that, I guess. I like the stories of the animals better. Because you still get all the main parts. The cheetah ate the zebra and killed Orange Juice. And then at the end, Richard Parker took the cheetah. That's all the important parts right there. And then he and Richard Parker had to survive together. And I think that's something else. He didn't just have to live with himself. He had to survive with himself throughout that whole journey after taking the cheetah. So in the book, we have that understanding of like how long and lonely it must have been for him. And if he really was alone, then that part of himself was something he had to understand. And there are a bunch of references to it. Like when he talks about how hunger will... I like the one with animals more because we need to believe something that's amazing and kind of magical can happen. Even when you hit rock bottom, you can always stand up and go on. Both stories have a lot in common, but in the end, I really think the second one is the real version. He didn't just want to admit because he would have been portrayed as a monster. Or he didn't want to accept that part of himself. He liked understanding that Richard Parker did that, and then that part of himself was gone. As far as he's concerned, Richard Parker will never come back because he'll never be pushed up against a wall in the way he was. He'll never be stranded on a boat. Well, maybe he will be, but he's really trying not to be, right? So I think it is a way for him to cope with the tiger within. But I think it's also a way to say that we all have that tiger within. He doesn't demonize anyone. He doesn't even demonize the cook at the end. He does say he was a monster and he was gross, but there were parts where he was like, I liked him. I mean, he was helping us eat and stuff, so I did become friendly with him. Oh, sorry guys, I'm skipping. I think it's such a harrowing experience. I think in such a harrowing experience, that is how his mind allowed him to survive the horrors and keep going. Both were available, but one was so overwhelmingly sad, he had to compartmentalize. I agree. I think one was just too... Maybe it was still too on the surface, like he had just experienced all of it, and he couldn't deal with it. But also, I mean, in a way, his story is like the religious trial of a saint, you know? So to me, with his background into religion, it doesn't surprise me that he makes it that he lived on this boat with a tiger within. That he had to battle sin and demons. Yeah, I like that. Oh, he saw his mother get killed. And I think that's the thing, like, and I honestly think that was the part he went blind. Because he was blind with rage. I'm catching up on comments, guys. I love the allegory of the book, the meaning beneath the surface of what we read. So tell me, what allegory? I think maybe the point of this story is just to show that there are two sides, perspective in any one situation in the story. Oh, what the huck and pull. I think that's absolutely right. And he makes that point with religion. It's a different perspective. In the book, he says, religion is but a house with many rooms. I think this story, which religion is a story a lot of the time. These are stories that help us understand and help us grow and learn. They're stories. I think this story for him can be told from different parts of the house. It can be told from where it was experienced, the very rich, kind of sad one that he ends up telling. It can also be told from the perspective of this boy who gets stuck on a raft with a hyena, an orangutan, a zebra, and a lion, or a tiger. He separated the animal version of himself to create Richard Parker, and I think that kept him sane for 227 days. I completely agree with no one else. The reader can pick and choose the parts of the story that benefit their preferred versions. It's like Pi's three-tiered faith as well. I agree. The reality was too much for him to handle, so he had to come up with the story. Yes. I suppose in the whole of life becomes an act of letting go. But what always hurts the most is not taking moments to say goodbye. So sad. So Annie Hansen, the other guy he met in the ocean, remember he was speaking French and he knew all of the French recipes. In the book, they talk about how, in the movie, they talk about how the cook on the ship was French. So that's something the movie kind of illuminates. And then you find out later that it was the French cook at the end of the book. That rhymed. So the other blind man was the French, and I think they were both blinded by different things. And I think that was literally a whole metaphorical page, like where it was supposed to be a metaphor. I think a metaphor, is that the right word? Where literally he's blind with rage because he just killed, the cook just killed his mother. So the whole time he's like, we had a conversation and everything. He's kind of floating in this blind rage, and the other guy's blinded by his hunger and blinded by. Think about it. He still had food on his boat, which means I think that he went to the chef's part of the boat that he left the chef in, and he had hidden food from Pi so that he could be okay. He was very selfish with his survival. Oh yeah, we got to talk about that island though. Sorry. It feels like the animal story is almost repression for the other one. For Pi to survive that long and live what he lived through. Could anyone really bear that? I'm not sure. I think it's really interesting the fact that Pi told a different version of the story. Maybe it means that sometimes the most dangerous animal in the zoo is man. Exactly. The beginning when he talked about how his father was a really tough man made me feel so soft. I'm reading a whole other book. So what about the island? Didn't seem realistic? I love that part when they ask him, what do you mean an island? That's botanically not possible. And he goes, yes, and you also thought it was botanically not possible for bananas to float until you tested it. And they're like, well, there's nothing that does that. And he goes, yes, just like you think there's no way that a boy could grow on a boat with the tide. You know? The island doesn't seem realistic, but who's to say there are some wonders on our planet that we still don't know? We know more about the surface of the moon than we do of the ocean. We know exponentially more about the moon and space than we do about what's in the depths of our own ocean. So it begs the question, like, how do we know there isn't an island floating? Also, I refuse to believe all the magic is gone from the world. Like all of the old stories from hundreds of years ago where they say this giant boat and these giant sea monsters. I refuse to believe those are all gone. I think there's always some truth to it. I think now we're like, oh, they're not sea monsters, they're whales. But I think out there still is a sea monster. I think out there may still be a floating island that no one's seen unless they've been stranded for a certain amount of time. Maybe it's supposed to be, that's what it feeds on. It's a whole other short story there. An island that floats in the ocean that feeds on lost sailors that become complacent. But let's talk about that island, because I think it is a really cool thing. Why did Pi not stay on that island? Would you have stayed on the island, even though you know it was a carnivore? All you have to do is sleep in the tree at night. Why did he not stay? What was the meaning of that? Was it a further in the quest for survival? Was it an understanding that to be on that island would be to accept the minimum, the bare minimum of life? And to live in the bare minimum and accepting of that isn't valuable at all? I don't know. That's a question I'm like, why does he leave that island with no guarantee of safety out there? What do you guys think? I'm scrolling down to the bottom. Sorry, I missed a lot of comments. The island stands for something symbolic. I think so. I love the island part, but I'm trying to figure out, guys. Movie help. Okay, going down to the bottom again. When I was reading the book, the island for me was like the island of plastic in the Pacific Ocean. It's super toxic and kills animal. I imagine that allergies grew on it. Okay. You just talk about what I think. I think he knew that it wouldn't be safe. I think he was thinking of Richard Parker and himself. I think he knew he had to move on. Okay, so he's thinking of Richard Parker. So let's go to the story that is with people. What is the island? Was the island the acceptance of death? This thing that was just going to come swallow him up? But at the same time, it was giving him everything he wanted? Richard Parker was able to roam freely and no one would ever judge. He was able to eat and drink fresh water and relax. I think maybe it was symbolic, maybe for death. I'm spitballing here. I have no idea. And there could be a religious tie to leaving the island as well. I agree. Going back into the fray. Giving some sort of solace and then choosing to live. And then there's... That's an interest... Who said that? Bane Lightwood? Awesome. I think the island may have not been carnivorous, but in his mind he made it so because he realized that he had to leave to find humankind again. Maybe. The island gave him... I'm reading comments. The island gave him a reprieve, but it wasn't meant for long-term survival. It was like Pi couldn't stand to survive just thanks to somebody else. There was no reason to kill anymore. Interesting. His will to live, he couldn't stand the idea of surrender. Staying the island would mean surrender. Maybe he didn't stay in the island because it would have meant accepting that there was nothing else or nothing further, the future. He prefers the known and the unknown. He doesn't know if he would have survived in the island. And he doesn't know its secrets, but he knows the ocean and only the dangerous thing was Richard Parker. So he made it stand for something bad to make himself leave. It would make sense for Pi to stay on the island because Pi has always held faith and hope, and staying there would have meant stop having faith. I think it was an allegory for death. Maybe ending it himself. Would have been easy, but it would have been a half-life. Yes, maybe for death. Yep, death. Death and isolation. The island felt too good to be true in a way. It appeared to be relief, but had a dark secret. I think he wanted to come back to this position. I wish I could, comb through. I didn't take any notes. I'm not going to lie. I literally just was and I crushed the last 100 pages. Maybe the island is humanity for the most cruel part of us. It kills at night after all. Interesting. He may have found just a normal island, but he didn't want to stay. Okay. What do you think about Pi's relationship with God in the last part of the book? What do you mean? Please. I don't know. Okay. The island allowed him to have hope. It helped him for a while. While being deadly, isn't that what life is? Life gives something to go on, but you still end up dying in the end. Interesting. I think staying on the island would have been his surrender. I think him not staying because he wasn't finished searching, exploring, or living. Maybe the island was a metaphor for death and paradise, but he decided to survive and leave. What really made the movie so interesting is that he didn't give up no matter what. And I think that was more apparent. There are some parts of the story in the book where he's talking about how he felt, or he watched the ship sink. Or the tremendous solace he felt being alone on one of the first nights with Richard Parker, and he had his life raft. And then I think of the moment where the ocean is completely serene, placid, calm, and he's staring at the lifeboat in the book. In the movie. And Richard Parker comes out and looks at him, and he's sitting there just crying as the clouds are tumbling over the moon to create a complete blackness. I cannot imagine the fear I would have if I was sitting on a crappy little life raft made of life jackets and oars at a lifeboat in the middle of miles and miles and miles, miles deep. The Marianas Trench is the deepest point in our ocean. We don't know how deep it really goes completely, but we know it goes about 6 or 7 miles deep. So 6, 7 miles deep, thousands, hundreds of miles on the sides of him, and he's sitting there on a life raft with nothing, and you can't even see your hand in front of your face. That's a special kind of hell. Special kind of hell. I have read Call of the Wild, by the way. Very good book. Usually, I'm all about the notes, but this book made me forget about notes. I really enjoyed reading it. Great choice. Thank you. I think this book, in a way, it deals with a lot of religious themes, meditation, and not meditation, but he talks about that prayer. He talks about little things like that, and I think this book kind of becomes this, where you kind of let go of the need to take notes, and you allow yourself the freedom to kind of just be present with the story. And I like that about this book, and I think it makes sense with it. All right, let's talk about quotes, because we're at 12:10. We have about 20 minutes left, so let's talk about quotes. I wouldn't even be alive. Would have died in the boat. I always said that I think Diego would have survived. Diego's very crafty, very smart. Diego would have made it. I would have died the first day. That's not true. Remember, I think one of the things also that Pi is trying to tell these people who didn't experience this, who want to just look at the circumstance and want to say, okay, wasn't his fault, don't want to deal with any of it. What he kind of tries to make them do is he forces them to confront the idea that you don't know who you are until you're tested in these ways. In many biblical stories, the same thing. You have one or two choices. You can either hold on to this life and these mortal things, these things that eventually will disappear regardless, just like the tide, or you let go and give over to the power of the universe, God, the being, whatever you believe. You just kind of give yourself over to this idea that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves, and we can't understand it. I don't know. I think there's that maybe theme then. The world isn't just the way it is. It is how we understand it, no? I say there were no animals. Call me a non-believer. Non-believer! I have a story that will make you believe in God. Did we find that to be true? What the huck and polar? That's a great freaking question. How does everyone feel about that? I will tell you a story that will make you believe in God. In the movie, he peed at the boat to take over Richard Park. It was kind of funny. Yeah. High calls low, low calls high. I tell you, if you were in such dire straits as I was, you too would elevate your thoughts. Love is hard to believe. Ask any lover. Life is hard to believe. Ask any scientist. God is hard to believe. Ask any believer. What is your problem with hard to believe? The lower you are, the higher your mind will want to soar. It was natural that, bereft and desperate as I was, in the throes of unremitting suffering, I should turn to God. A part of this book reminded me of 1984. Pi, by eating a lot of animals, went against the way he is. As Winston said, a man can sacrifice everything just to survive. La Presta Mariana, yes, but crazy, right? And that's the scary thing that I think a lot of people, myself included, live with. I think it's one of the reasons we create art. I think it's one of the reasons why we are constantly trying to test the boundaries of humanity, because we all live with these things inside of us that we know won't come out until put to the test. Who knows, maybe some of you have Richard Parkers in there. Maybe I do. I don't know. It's important to conclude things properly. Only then you can let it go. Otherwise, you are left with words you should have said, but never did. And your heart is heavy with remorse. I think that's a very about God. Love that quote. Very important quote. One of my favorite quotes in the book. Because then it's kind of like, remember my quote from a long time ago? Be the guy that jumps? Similar. Life is so beautiful that death has fallen in love with it. A jealous, possessive love that grabs at what it can. That's a great freaking question. Only fear can defeat life. That whole paragraph or chapter about fear is incredible. I think it definitely gave me a lot to think about. Left me with more questions and unknowns than I had before. So I think, yes, because I'm questioning my previous beliefs. We believe what we see is probably the representation about the society. In the day and age, too, like in this day and age. I think this book will age well. Like, I don't see this book getting weird anytime soon. Like, everyone's going to think this book is cool for a long time. A person can get used to anything, even killing. Maybe not God, but consciousness and love and living in the moment. And some people believe that is God, so. My favorite quotes, here, let me do this, because this will be easier for me to find them than digging through the book. All right, I want to do a tiny little side note. Have you guys seen A Star is Born yet? I love Pi's conversation with two Japanese officials. They seriously lost their minds with the roundabout way of he was telling. I love you. I truly do love you, Richard Parker. If I didn't have you now, I don't know what I would do. I don't think I would make it. The tiger, that will to live, that animal-like instinct, survival, things that have been honed over years. He's talking to himself. He's like, if I didn't have a Richard Parker inside of me, I would be dead. You haven't seen it? Oh, Star is Born. I loved it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Bradley Cooper, I thought, did a phenomenal job making that film. I thought Lady Gaga blew my mind. I thought he was an incredible, in terms of craft, I think the guy was great. So I would check it out. Okay. If you stumble about believability, what are you living for? Love is hard to believe, ask any lover. Life is hard to believe, ask any scientist. God is hard to believe, ask any believer. What is your problem with hard to believe? You must take life the way it comes at you and make the best of it. Okay, so I just read a quote that makes me think about what we're all saying about, I'm just going to read it. The world isn't just the way it is. It is how we understand it, no? And in understanding something, we bring something to it, no? Doesn't that make life a story? I can only tell my story. What you believe is up to you. Isn't that just life? We try to get our story across, whether we know it or not. And it's up to others, whether they believe it. Yes. I also like the part where Pi thinks he's going to die and asks forgiveness to Richard Parker because he failed as a zookeeper. These people fail to realize that it is on the inside that God must be defended, not the outside. They should direct their anger at themselves. For evil in the open is but evil from within that has been left out. The main battlefield for good is not the open ground of the public arena, but the small clearing in each heart. And then this quote makes me think of like Richard Parker speaking directly to him. I was giving up. I would have given up. If a voice hadn't made itself heard in my heart, the voice said, I will not die. I will refuse it. I will make through this nightmare. I will beat the odds as great as they are. I have survived so far miraculously. Now I will turn miracle into routine. The amazing will be seen every day. I will put in all the hard work necessary. Yes, so long as God is with me, I will not die. Amen. In that quote is one of the most important things I think anybody studying anything needs to remember. I have survived so far miraculously. Now I will turn miracle into routine. That's, to me, the foundation of craft. It's that at some point in whatever you do, whether you're a painter, an actor, an artist, someone that cares about what they're doing, and you figure it out once miraculously, you're like, oh, wow, that worked. Your job as an artist is to create some sort of thing, to figure that out all the time, and that craft helps with that. Figure out that miracle and how to make it happen. So I think that's a really cool quote. We should read The Alchemist next. We read The Alchemist. We read it last year. I love that turn miracle into routine. That's what teachers try to do. Exactly. It's saying, all right, you figured out this one math problem. Great. Miracle. Here's a formula so you can always get the answer to that problem that you might have again and again. And it can extend into huge life problems, or it can extend into small things. To me, that's the essence of craft and why we study it in any form. To make miracles routine. Or to find a way to discover this miracle. It's a relevant book for today. Oh, thank you. Keeping us on track. It's a relevant book for today because Pi tells his story and the men say, we don't believe you because there is no proof. Oh, whoa. Whole other level, but not inaccurate. I like how the author lets us know exactly what kind of people the Japanese officers are when they fail to pay attention to a simple map. Well, yeah, they're on a different level. They're there for business. They're not there because they want to hear some boy's tale about his Bengal tiger and how he survived 227 days, a story that will make you believe in God. No, they need to figure out, did he do anything that made this ship go down? Are we liable? Can you say the name of the book we're reading next? Do I have it with me? I have it somewhere. Oh, here we go. We have some time, though. We have about 10 minutes. I still want to know how the damn ship sank. Another metaphor. Well, not metaphor. Another thing to take. Sometimes we don't know how the ship sank. Sometimes the ship sinks, and you get stuck with it. And you have to swim. Insurance is important stuff, okay? Oh, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I love having my stack of books because I have that book. Great book. Completely agree. I found a little sticky note. Yeah, I have that book. Great book. Oh, we need to talk about the Count of Monte Cristo too. So I'm gonna start doing that. All right. The Japanese officials remind me of the Navy officers at the end of Lord of the Flies. Thank you, Clogear. I'm sorry if that's not your how you pronounce your handle, but yes. Are you guys seeing that there's some method to my madness of choosing books? Your book is a great example of how not knowing everything is a part of life and is a beautiful part of life. The mystery of life, mystery of religion, the mystery of everything. Anything worth thinking about, there isn't a complete answer. There's a part answer, half answer, I think. For me, anyway, because that makes it interesting. Richard Parker makes Shipshank. That's how dangerous he is. I actually didn't like this book. It was missing some plot, in my opinion. Very valid opinion. Interesting that you didn't like it. Totally cool. Missing plot, I can see where that's a very interesting comment if you compare it to the movie. Because I think that's what the movie did with certain aspects of character development, stories they tell you. Like in the movie, Ravi has a small part when they're younger, but as they get older, especially when it's like the final actor that's going to get stranded at sea, that Ravi doesn't really say anything. But in Pai's world, it's his brother, so obviously huge impact. But yeah, I think the movie did things to kind of make it more of a plot-oriented book, and the book, of a story. So that's interesting. Did you like the movie? Have you seen it? Well, this is not only the books I'm choosing, because some of them, I'm not going to lie, just got lucky that they commented on something that we talked about, but some of them I purposely chose. But a lot of it is how once you enter the world of a certain art form, or the world of something, fitness, math, all of them help each other. Like, you enter the world of books and you find out that all of these books influence all of these other books, because art is this inclusive mix of colors. So you can't put a color in without it touching other colors and making a new color. So that's how I feel that we've entered the world of literature, so naturally we're going to see the parallels of all the other great books we've read, because everyone's influenced by this. It's pretty cool. But yeah, don't worry, half the book club members didn't like Catch-22, so you're allowed. I was talking to Diego. While I understood and loved the historical importance and understanding and the innocence and beauty in Diary of Anne Frank, I found that one very hard to read. That one was one where I had to plan time. So it's okay. I always want everyone to feel completely comfortable if they don't like what we're reading, but I want them to challenge that and ask themselves why. What is it with this specific story that I am not? Is it the style in which they're writing? Is it the vocabulary they're using? Is it what elements of the plot don't satisfy my understanding of A plus B equals C? Or is it A divided by C equals B? Who knows? I always want you to be completely honest with whether or not you like a book, but then I want you to always try to figure out why, so that you can start seeing what patterns that you tend to push yourself away from. Oh, I don't like fantasy. I don't know. Whatever it is, I think it's very important to understand that and to dive into why we don't like things, because that is what gives us value when we can not only have opinions, but when there's backing to them, when I can be like, actually, I get this. Because then maybe you'll change one day and you'll be like, wow, I guess I don't feel that way about this anymore. So many cool books to read. Yeah, I'm going to finish the movie now after we finish. I have about half left. I thought the author's writing is beautiful. And the math examples are so funny because of pi. Thank you. It's on the brain. It's kind of ironic the movie has Indian actors, and I'm from India, but I haven't seen it yet. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I hope they wouldn't make it without that. I haven't watched more of The Handmaid's Tale. I watch it with Tessa, and Tessa and I haven't been together. Like, I was in Toronto for a bit, but then I'm back here, and she's still in Toronto, so I haven't watched it, because that's like a show we watched together. Any new titles for the book club? Not yet. Not yet. What do we need to know about the common? Okay. So someone told me, as I kind of noticed later, the book that I got is the abridged book. Abridged. And it's still like 600 pages long. So I'm going to go put on the I'm going to put a question up. If you guys already purchased the book, I'm sorry. What we're going to do is I'm going to put a question up probably today or tomorrow and be like, which version of The Count of Monte Cristo do we think we should read? Should we read the unabridged or the abridged? The abridged is still very long. The unabridged is even longer, but I guarantee you it'd be great. So we'll leave it up to everyone. The unabridged may be difficult to find in languages. The abridged may be difficult to find in languages, and I need to know these things. So if you guys can do me a favor, and when you comment, I would like the abridged version. Write me a message and be like, for these reasons. Like, I can find it in German. I can't find the unabridged in German. You know, whatever it is. I'm going to post it up there, so you don't have to vote right now. Yeah, and 1,100 pages. I have the Barnes & Noble's Classics version. Is this one of the books we should read like that? I don't know. I want to read this book, though, so I'm gonna stick to it. And if we have to read the unabridged version and we take until mid-next year reading it, we're going to do it. So we'll talk about that. So that's the book after the next book. The next book, we're going to dive into talking about that. So everyone, let's say goodbye to our friend Pai Patel. Let's say goodbye to Richard Parker. Thank you so much, Richard Parker. You've given us a great story. All right, the next book we'll be reading, Things Fall Apart. So, Things Fall Apart is the first of 3 novels in Chinua Achebe's critically acclaimed African trilogy. It's a classic narrative about Africa's cataclysmic encounter with Europe as it establishes a colonial presence on the continent. Told through the fictional experiences of Okonkwo, a wealthy and fearless Igbo warrior of Umofia in the late 1800s, Things Fall Apart explores one man's futile resistance to the devaluing of his Igbo traditions by British political and religious forces, and his despair as his community capitulates to the powerful new order. We're going to read this book in 2 weeks. All right? So, we're not reading the trilogy. We're just going to read the first book. I was telling you it was a trilogy, so if you guys were like, whoa, I love this book and I want to keep going, you can find the other 2 books and we can read the trilogy. Yeah, this book for me, in the version that I have, is like exactly 210 pages long. So we're going to read half of that. We're going to read 110 pages the first week, and then we'll just crush it the next week. So 2 per week, like we'll crush it. Trust me, guys, this will be soups easy. So we're going to read to chapter 12. Chapter 12. Chapter 12, 110 pages. What we've been reading, my print is a lot bigger than in some books. So, chapter 12, Things Fall Apart. Things Fall Apart, chapter 12. I can't wait to start this book. I've read a lot of good things about this book. They talked about it in that PBS documentary I brought up, The Great American Read, which I think is cool. So yeah, I'm excited to read it. I hope you guys are excited to read it. It seems like it's going to be really cool. Yeah, Life of Pi though, right? So good. If you cannot find certain books and languages, remember Rosende Reads PDFs on Twitter is posting a bunch of the PDF documents. If you still can't find them, when I ask the question about the Count of Monte Cristo, write me a message and let me know. All right, so that I can be like, okay, we'll talk about it. I don't think we're gonna, yeah, we'll talk about it. The author's name, Chinua Achebe. Piscine Malitor Patel, we will miss you. I love that. All right, guys. So, another book done. We should feel fantastic. I love finishing books. It makes me very happy. Sense of accomplishment. So, thank you guys very much for this week. Thank you so much for this book. It was awesome. I haven't done that in a while where I just crush a book in a sitting, so I was really happy to do that with this one. We did it. Thank you guys very much. I will talk to you guys next week. Remember, I'm going to be asking the question in the next couple days about Count of Monte Cristo, so there's still some time to get it. So we can figure that out, solidify that, go for it. Thank you guys for reading. Thank you guys for joining. Now continue to be curious, continue exploring, continue questioning, continue questioning everything, and continue to be positive forces of change in your communities today. Have a great weekend, guys. I will see you next week. Peace, guys.